Hey Cricut Crafters, my name is Shay, and today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make these Mother's Day and Father's Day shirts that I have had great success in selling. I've made hundreds of dollars selling just these shirts. I usually sell them for about $20 to $25 each for the adult sizing, and I just have made a lot of money doing so. So let's go into the tutorial. Before we start, I always like to ask you a quick question. So please let us know in the comments down below. Are you going to be crafting something for Mother's Day and Father's Day coming up? What are you planning on making? Let us know down below so we can share all of the ideas, and we're gonna get right into the tutorial. The first step for this tutorial is to go to dafont.com. And this is a site where you can download these for free for personal use. Now, if you are wanting to sell these, you are going to need to purchase the commercial license for it or use a different font that is for commercial use, which I've talked about in multiple different videos. But remember, for this specific tutorial, the free version is for personal use. So the font we're looking for is the I Love Glitter font. And this is what's going to give us some super cute little glyphs, and I'll show you what it looks like. So go ahead and download that. I have shown you how to download a font and install it into your computer right up here. So go ahead and click on that one first if you want to know how to do it, because you just need to unzip the file, hit install, and then reboot your Cricut Design Space if it's already open. So that's what we're doing there. The next step is to open up Cricut Design Space. Perfect. So now that I'm on Cricut Design Space, I'm going to start a new project, and I'm going to go in and select text. The first thing I'm going to type out is mom, and I'm going to do it in caps. You could type out mama, grandma, whatever you call that person. And I like to change the font to Times New Roman. There are a couple different variations of this decal, but I'm going to go with the super simple one for today's tutorial. And then maybe for another tutorial, I'll show you something a little different. So what we're going to do is create a layered heat transfer vinyl shirt. So this is the base layer. I'm going to change this to black. And then what I'm going to do is type the text. I'm going to change it to the font I Love Glitter. Perfect, select on that one. So let me just move this down so you can see what I'm doing. Double click with the new Cricut Design Space update, and we're going to use the glyphs. So I'll put it up on the screen right here. This is what you're going to be selecting on your keyboard to get all of those little marks that we're doing today. So first we're going to go here. We're going to type the first child's name. And I mean, I have done shirts that I've sold that have like 8 names on them, and you can fit them, just do them in rows if you need to, otherwise it'll be way too small to work with. But yeah, go ahead and do that. There is also a glyph to fill in this heart here, but I like it open. And then go ahead if you need to make it a little larger to fit over top. What I like to do is have it go like this. Now I'm just going to change the color so that we can see it a little bit better. I'm going to make it white on the shirt. I'm just going to remove this so that you can see a little better. Okay, make sure that you weld it, because you can see here, otherwise my Cricut is going to cut out like this, and we don't want that going through the letter. So select weld so it makes your cursive all go together. You can see here it filled in the E's and the D's. That's okay. There are a couple ways to fix that. So first of all, I'm just going to move this out of the way for now so I can really focus on what I'm working with. If you make it a little bit larger, sometimes that does the trick. Nope, not this time, so we're gonna undo it. The next thing is selecting ungroup, and all you need to do is move them a little bit further apart from each other. A lot of time that also does the trick. It just is hit or miss sometimes. You have to fiddle around with it a little bit. And essentially it's when there's a little part of it overlapping and then it fills in the whole thing. I don't remember which one it was, this one or this one. Okay, let's see if that did the trick. Normally it does it for one of them and not all of them, but we'll see what happens. Weld, and okay, that worked for the E's but not for the D's, so let's undo and just move it a little bit further apart. Work. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, so finally it works. Sometimes you really have to fiddle around with it a little bit. Let me get this back in there. Okay, so we're just going to move this over, and I'm just going to size this down to where I want it, and then size all of this down so it doesn't exceed what my mat will let me cut. Okay, now let me zoom in. Perfect. So once I have gone ahead and welded this font here, the cursive, so it's all one and my Cricut is not going to cut through the letter, I could go ahead and just cut this out like this with my heat transfer vinyl. Go ahead and make it, just make sure to mirror your image. And then you can layer the vinyl. So the first layer is going to be the black. This is what I'm going to show you the tutorial. So a great way to make sure everything's lined up properly, which in this case I'm going to be cutting out 2 different layers, so it's fine, but I like to visually see it. And if you are doing the feature where you're slicing out the text, go to a line and just center horizontally. So now it is perfectly lined up. For this specific tutorial, I'm actually going to write dad instead of mom. I have sold these for Mother's Day and Father's Day, but at this time I don't know anyone that I could gift a mom shirt to that I haven't already. So I'm just going to make a dad shirt because I am able to gift this to a dad, and I'm just going to make it a little bit larger. So we have it like this, and their names right here. Beware that this little font is going to be a little tricky to weed. Thankfully, heat transfer vinyl is a lot easier to weed, but definitely just be conscious of that. And I'm ready to go ahead and cut this out. So we're gonna select Make It. And I need to make sure I mirror my image on both of these sheets because it is heat transfer vinyl. When I go to do the transfer on the carrier sheet and remove that sheet once it's done, it will be facing the correct way. So make sure to mirror your image. We're going to continue, and then we're going to set our base material to everyday iron on. Go ahead and change the pressure to more or less if you need. I'm just going to leave it at default. Actually, I'm gonna make it more for now and just see how that goes. Perfect, everything is good to go. So now I'm ready to get started. My Cricut is prompting me to load it with black, and then I'm also going to try to do just some white. I have this Caesar Easy Weed heat transfer vinyl, which I've never used, and I really want to try it out and see how I like it. So I'm going to go in with that. I also have this Caesar flocked vinyl, which would be really fun for this project. So I think I might try this out. That could be fun, right? To kind of play with the textures a little bit. So we're gonna do that. But if you just have a regular heat transfer vinyl, that works perfect. I have done a tutorial showing me using the flocked vinyl and talking about specifically how to use it and the different things for it, because it is a little bit different. It's a little bit of a thicker vinyl to use, and it's also just gives like a satin, is that the right word? Almost like a, not velvet, a suede. It looks like a suede finish. One of those suede boots, really. It really gives it a nice professional look. What I'm going to do is lay this out, and I'm going to put the shiny side down with heat transfer vinyl, shiny side down, okay? Hopefully it doesn't die mid-cut, but we're going to go ahead. My battery might cut out, so if it does, just stop working. All I'm doing is cutting out my vinyl, and I will make sure to film after I've cut it out. So I'm using the 12 by 20 format because it is stickier right now. Load it up, and it's gonna cut it out. Now that I have it cut out, I'm going to go ahead and start weeding them out. So I like to place it on my mat. It's kind of like having a second pair of hands is what I like to explain it as, because it really grips it down so that I have both hands to use when I'm weeding. Heat transfer vinyl is a lot easier to weed as well, so that is very nice. It kind of just pulls up because the transfer sheet that is attached to it is sticky, so it just does a really good job. Like I can pretty much just weed this out all in one go if I wanted to. This one's going to be a little bit trickier. I'm just going to move this to the side. This one's going to be trickier because it is that really intricate font that we did. So let's go ahead and slowly start weeding it. Now don't worry, if you do not have the flocked vinyl like I'm using here, any heat transfer vinyl will work perfectly. I just thought I would get a little creative in today's tutorial and try some different textures and play around with it. but I usually just layer different colors of the regular heat transfer vinyl. Oh, that weeded really nicely. So it gives it that really nice look. I didn't even lose my eye, the top of the eye. Usually that one gets pulled off with vinyl, but now for the really tiny little bits between the letters. So just go ahead and weed your design out. I'm just gonna skip ahead because otherwise we'll be here for a while as I weed it out. And then I'll be back once this is fully weeded. Now it's all weeded out and they're ready to go. The next step is to prep my heat press and all of my materials, so let's do that. I'm just gonna set aside my vinyl and show you the materials I'm using specifically. So for the heat press portion of this, I have my heat transfer vinyl that I've weeded out. Today I'm putting it on a shirt, so I just have one of those Walmart shirts. They were like $4. You can get the gilded ones, Bella Canvas, look at Michael's, and otherwise you can buy them wholesale for really cheap online. But for these type of projects, I just go and, you know, get what I have in the store. A lint roller to clean the shirt first. I like to use a towel or a pillowcase or something to put underneath to get a really nice press. I also use some parchment paper, which you'll see, to make sure I can protect my press, my fabric, and my decal. You could also use a Teflon sheet or another thin fabric like a pillowcase or something similar. And then for today's video, I'm going to be trying out my new guides for the t-shirt. You could also use a ruler or just eyeball it, which we will show you. And then of course, some type of heat source, heat press, a regular iron for your laundry works, and a Cricut Easy Press. So let's get started. I'm going to open this up. I do have the larger Cricut Easy Press, which is nice for shirts like this. You could also use a ironing mat or the Cricut Easy Press mat. This is just a regular ironing mat from Walmart to put underneath the very easy bottom. But I'm going to use a towel because it's a little bit thinner, so I like how I get the press with that. 320, and then for the time, you're supposed to press it for about 20 seconds, but because I'm layering it, I'm going to go to 15 seconds. While that's heating up, I'm going to set up my area. So I'm putting a towel down. I'm doing it on a hard surface, so wood is a great one if you have a wood table. Countertop could work as well. Something you want that's sturdy. So you do not want to be heat pressing on your bed, for example. You're not going to get a proper and even press. The next thing is I'm going to lay down my shirt. Now I will say, ooh, everything just flew everywhere. I will say that people have their own methods, so the way that I'm doing it is not the only way to do it. It's not the best way. I'm not claiming any of that. Over time, I've learned what works best for me and the way that I like to use my heat transfer vinyl, but there are tons of ways to make a shirt. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a lint roller and clean up this shirt. This is not a brand new shirt. You can see there are stains. There's like mustard stains and everything on here. Sometimes people like to pre-wash the shirts. It's not necessary, but sometimes people do like to do that if they're worried about it shrinking. Again, not an issue for me. I've never necessarily pre-washed a shirt if I'm selling it. But in this case, this is a shirt that my husband has worn many times. Okay. So the next thing is, while my heat press is still heating up, I'm going to do a pre-press. So what I'm doing is essentially just heating up the shirt a little bit. This is just gonna help things go. It gets out any of the wrinkles, and it also helps get the moisture out of the shirt. If you have seen my previous tutorials where I'm doing a heat transfer vinyl shirt, I'll put it right here, a picture of what it looks like. When you do certain colors, like certain reds, purples, greens, sometimes blue, the moisture of the shirt really comes out and it makes this weird kind of shadow print out of this. Oh, it's heated up. It makes this weird rectangle like this, and that's the moisture in the shirt. So it does disappear after a while. Not to fret, but it's always great to do a nice little pre-press with your iron or your heat press. This is the first time I'm using a little t-shirt measurement guide. I have sold hundreds of shirts and never used this, so don't worry if you do not have one. Not a huge deal. I have used a ruler, or normally, to be honest with you, I eyeball it. And the real purpose of this is just to make sure it is lined up as best as possible. I got this off of Amazon. It was under $15 and it's nice and thick, so it can bend, but it's not going to break. So I'll link that down below if you did want to get the specific ones that I'm using. So we're gonna go like this, and so we have it on there. Again, you can use a ruler or just eyeball it. Sometimes I'll get my husband or whoever, I'll put on the shirt for myself if I'm selling it, and then put your fingers over top from the neckline and count how far where you want your decal to go. And then I would put my hand over and count the same amount. So let's say normally it's about 4 to 5 fingers, and then I would put it right there. So that's another great way to do it. But I really like this little t-shirt guide. It comes with one for like infant, I think there's youth, toddler, and then adult. So it's great if you're doing a lot of shirts and stuff like that, way quicker. So essentially this is what it's going to be like. I'm going to do the first layer and then go in with the second one after, and let's get pressing. So I've flipped it now where my transfer sheet, is on the top. I'm going to take parchment paper for today's tutorial, but I gave you some options if you do not have the wax baking paper. Butcher paper works as well. And this is going to protect my decal. It's also going to protect my heat press and the shirt. So this is the first layer. You start, when you're layering vinyl, you start from the base and build your way up. So put your press on. If you're using the easy press, press the button. If you're using an iron, you're going to want to use a lot of physical pressure. So push down on that iron. And if you are using an iron, and by iron I mean like the laundry iron, you know, for your dress shirts, go ahead and move the iron along. You do not want to keep the iron still, or it might start burning it. Also, if you are using your iron, do not use steam. Okay, so don't worry, I've sold hundreds, like I said, of shirts, and over 50 of those were made with an iron, so not to fret if you do not have a heat press. Okay, I have talked about this a couple of times, but depending on the vinyl you're using, and it's going to change every time depending on the brand, so it's not the same. For example, this one I'm using is the Caesar Easy Read vinyl, and some of them are hot peel, and some of them are cool peel, and some do not matter. So it will say hot or cool peel. And what that means is once you're done pressing, if it's a hot peel, you need to peel the transfer sheet back while it's still warm. Be careful not to burn yourself. If it's a cool peel, like the flocked vinyl, which you'll see after, you need to wait until it fully cools down before you can peel it. And then if it says hot or cool peel, then it does not matter. The reason for that is it will, if it's a cool peel and I peel it up early, it might need time to set. So if I pull it up, it's going to damage it, and vice versa. Sometimes if it's a hot peel and you leave it on there for too long, it actually starts to damage it. So make sure that you check. For example, let's say you purchased your vinyl in a roll like this. Sometimes you get them in the flat sheets. And then when you open it up, it will have the instructions. It's rolled in right now, but it will say if it's hot peel or cool peel or what it is. So just try to double check that every time, because like I said, it changes depending on the brand. Now I'm going to line it up to where I like it to be. Okay, if you do multiple names, you can kind of do it like that. So you're gonna put the next layer on and then use this sheet, the protective sheet again, to cover the bottom little vinyl decal that you made. So this is the reason that I didn't do the full time for my first press, because this bottom layer is going to be getting a whole new set of heat now as I'm doing this. So it's really important to make sure that you are not doing the full time, because too much heat can actually start stretching and damaging the decal and the vinyl. If you ever notice your vinyl is wrinkling or bubbling, or if it's coming off, then that could be why. There are a lot of reasons, but that could be why. So with heat transfer vinyl on shirts, the care instructions for it are really important. If you are selling this, make sure you include care instructions. That way people cannot come back later on. Well, they could, but you can kind of cover yourself if they come back and say, oh, this peeled up in the wash. For the care instructions, like I said, make sure you turn it inside out when you put it in the cold wash. I would suggest hang drying it for longer lasting decal. If you are going to put it in the dryer, make sure it's inside out and don't do a heated dry. The other thing is, do not iron this, because heat transfer vinyl is activated. The adhesive is activated with heat. So if you put it in the dryer with heat, it's going to start peeling up. If you put it in the washing machine with hot wash, it's going to start peeling up. So the best way to do that is the way that I just told you, and try to include care instructions if you are selling it, just to cover your own self, and then that way your products last longer, which just looks better for you and your business. So the flocked vinyl was a cool peel. So now that it's cooled down, I'm ready to start peeling it up. Gotta just go really slowly because the bottom layer here is a hot peel. So I should have actually gone ahead and pulled that top part off first, but that's okay. You just have to go really slow. Okay, awesome. So that's on there. It looks really good. I'm just gonna go ahead one last time like this, and not with any of the carrier sheets, but my Teflon sheet is there, and I'm just gonna go over it a little bit and just do a little press to get it, you know, a little bit of heat, not much, just a bit. I don't want to melt anything, so I'm not keeping it on one spot. I'm moving it around. So here we have the finished product. As you might be able to see, that outline of the moisture from the shirt coming out. So this would have been a lot stronger if I didn't do that pre-press. So it's great that I did that. And like I mentioned, this will come out in the next few hours as the moisture kind of gets out of there. And then by tomorrow, it will be back to its regular color all through and through. So that's what it looks like. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can really see that flocked vinyl. It gives it that lifted look that's really cute. It looks super professional. And these sell really well for Mother's Day and Father's Day. So yes, I'm showing you this as a Mother's Day video, but I made the shirt for Father's Day because I thought this would be a great little gift. I'm so excited with how this one turned out. It looks so cute. I let it cure and sit there for about 24 hours, so now it's good to go. Like I said, make sure you take into consideration the care instructions if you are going to be selling something like this. Include that, and even if you're making it for someone to gift them, let them know how to care for this so that you get the longest last possible. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you all in the next one. Happy crafting. Bye for now. If you love to craft with your Cricut as much as I do, please feel free to check out this video here and here for tons more crafty and Cricut content. Bye for now and happy crafting.